Well, hello and welcome to the last painting of this thing, the Sea Monkeys. The last painting of the Sea Monkeys. This is chapter 72. Yes, 72. World's longest suicide note. My name is Roger. I'm your host. I'm also suicidal whenever there's a bad day. And or whenever things in the world seem pretty bad. My mind immediately goes there. So, but what I'm not is any kind of mental health professional or someone you should be taking advice from. So, steer clear. Danger. Anyway. Oh, I already got paint all over me. Paper towels. I go through a lot of paper towels here. Not as much as tattoo people. They go through a lot. Paper towels. And I know a little something about that. Not being a tattoo artist, but being a tattoo canvas. Anyway, let's start chatting. We're gonna chat about something that, if I had followers, I might lose a few. But we're gonna talk about it anyway. It's one of those things that you're not supposed to talk about, but it's religion. And it seems to be everywhere nowadays. And which isn't, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with religion if it gives you comfort and it does something for you as a person, and you feel like you're a better person for it, which is really what it's about. But it's being weaponized, and I'm not saying it's been, it's full on right now. Full on weaponized. And I have experience. Now I will say that my experience comes from growing up in an Assembly of God church with parents who were very, very religious. And so I spent many a Sunday sitting in uncomfortable pews, listening to words that didn't really connect with me. And generally I don't have, everyone has their own perspective. I like the movie Ishtar. I thought it was a fine movie with Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty about camels in the desert, whatever. But it was so blasted by people. People hated it. It was like people got angry because of Ishtar. They thought that it was just a horrible movie. And it's like, I just remember thinking, I thought it was actually kind of a good movie. But that's perspective. That's their perspective was one thing. Mine obviously was another. And religion's the same thing. I don't think there's one cohesive perspective about religion. I think it's what everyone, what they perceive to get their perceived value on their side, and I think that's the big thing, the big takeaway there. So understand that I'm not anti-religion in any way, shape, or form. And I don't have experience with other religions. This is, I have a pretty myopic view of religion because I was not, at no point have I been a Muslim or been exposed to Muslim beliefs or ideologies, and I'm not a Jewish. That's outside of my area of knowledge. You know, I've always wondered how they keep the little hats on. But other than that, I mean, I have no problem with anybody and their choice of religion. But also, I don't know enough about them to say anything about the actual religions. The only religion that I have a lot of experiences is with being in the Assembly of God Church, growing up, and there's stories about that. I mean, I got stories, but it's not about the stories. This is not about my church trauma, and there is church trauma. And if I talked about it, I think so. I think I did. I think I touched on it. If not, I will. So because I mean it, and I wouldn't touch on it to like say, oh, this is bad because it's not about assigning blame. Or I was never abused in the church. So I mean I don't have stories about that. It's mostly about how church doctrine butts heads with mental illness, and the way you're treated, the way that you know, and I'm sure I've talked about it. So you'll have to pay for the other episodes and watch those. That's how we get you. That's how we rake in the big bucks. Yeah. So the weaponization of especially, and I can talk about it because it's in the Christian church. So we're going to talk about it because I do know something about that. You know, I was part of that for a very, very, very long time. But I never really, you know, and I think at the end of the day, you know, I never had a moment where I felt like I've been close to God, but never in a church. I've never felt close to God in a church. The closest I feel to God is when I'm helping somebody, when I'm doing something good for somebody else. I feel like, oh, okay, this is what that's all about, and it has nothing to do with going to church. And I've been to church a lot of times. I mean, weekdays, not every weekday, but some weekdays, but every weekend, and I mean, and the only good thing about church was the breakfast after, and it wasn't at church, but you had to go to church to have the big after church breakfast. You know, and my mom would do like this after church breakfast was awesome. I know I've talked about that before because that's one of my favorite things. The only favorite thing about church was after church breakfast, and this is, you know, I don't believe that there's a power in a name. I don't. That's not something that I feel is, you know, oh, you can't say that. That's blasphemy. And I don't say that, and I don't believe it. So I'm not worried about it. But nowadays, there's this idea that people who go to church or believe a certain thing are better than other people, or that they know how other people should live. And it's just not the way it should be. And it's messing with people's heads. And as always, this is going to get tied back to depression, and it's going to come back to suicide, because that's what I talk about, and you know, the fact that this year this is already the second most prevalent suicide year since 1941. I mean, that has something to do with it. Because there's something about the power to judge someone else. Now, if we want to judge somebody else, let's be, you don't need to be a member of any religious organization to feel like you're superior to others who aren't, because you got the answer to immortality and everyone doesn't, and blah blah blah. So just because somebody's religious doesn't, I mean, there's a lot of people who judge others and they're not religious. They just are judgy people. And granted, some of them are actual judges, like lawyers that turned into judges. And I fully accept that, you know. I mean, but you could be a judge and be a nice person. You don't have to be a dick, like some of them are that I've seen. I mean, there's times where Judge Judy doesn't have to be as catty as she is, really. Anyway, so this need to judge people, this need to, you know, and it's also, we're right in the, almost right in the middle of Pride Month. And it is like getting ugly out there. And what does that mean? I mean, I'm a fan of Pride Month. I think Pride Month is some of the best energy you can get. I mean, it's legit energy. And so I'm a fan. But there's so much, oh, we're not going to celebrate that. You can't have a full month. You know, and most of that noise is coming from the Christian conservative side of things. And so it's like, oh, we're going to celebrate Veterans Month in June. It's going to be Veterans Month. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm a veteran. I'm not a combat veteran. And that's another thing, is I think there's two classes of veterans. The veteran who agreed to serve and is happy to serve, and would pay the price if needed, you know. So good people serving but not in combat. And then you have the combat veteran. Those that were in combat, were in that environment. That, you know, that's the veteran. Those are the folks. I'm not taking away from the others. Like I served. I didn't serve abroad. I didn't serve I served during war, but never abroad. I was Desert Storm, Desert Shield. But I was here. You know, I'm not going to take the credit for doing something that I didn't do. I was never. I was firearm trained, but I never carried a firearm because I was an aircraft mechanic. Here, I mean, in Texas and California, I mean, there was no reason they didn't issue weapons out. And that's probably a good thing, you know, because I served with a bunch of crazy people, and who knows what they would have been doing in the middle of the night out on the flight line with weapons. So anyway, where was I? I got off on a tangent, but anyway, I was talking about Pride and how they're doing Veterans Month. They want to. Well, we're celebrating Veterans Month, not Pride Month. Well, what good is that? The whole idea is you're not comfortable. You're not comfortable with people who are different. And oh, that, or it goes against some words that were written thousands of years ago. And, obviously these words that were written thousands of years ago absolutely apply to everything today. And we know that's ridiculous. So, and if what this rhetoric, this Christian rhetoric or religious rhetoric, I mean, I'm not, because there's other religions have rhetoric too. What they're trying to do, is actually making people's lives harder. You don't have to celebrate Pride. You just have to keep your damn mouth shut and let the people who are doing it do it. Just like you don't want them to come during Easter. I mean, not that they don't celebrate Easter too, but on a Christian holiday and show up and shit on your buffet table, just because it's not their thing. That's the precedent that you're setting. They don't do that because they're beyond that. They don't want to be like you. So the words that you say to other people, what you do is you're putting a sign out saying you're not welcome here. Even though they have every right to do it, even though there's nothing wrong with it. You stand in a place of judgment and make people feel unworthy of happiness and unworthy of hey, dang it, I'm getting all fired up. Anyway, all right, fixed. Yeah, and while I'm sure many would say, well, I don't even pay attention to that. That doesn't bother me, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've told people what they've said and done doesn't bother me, but it bothers me. It's like, why? Why do we have to do this again? Why is this a thing? Why can't people just let other people do what they feel is for their own happiness is something that they need to do? Yeah, I guess that's all what I was trying to say. Because other people's happiness is not our responsibility. It's their responsibility to make themselves happy. But why would we want to get in the way of anyone else's happiness just because they're different? They think different. They have a different lifestyle. I mean, the ego that is that, and the empowerment of the church to say no, that you have to do that. That's what the church called. No, you don't have to do that. You're just being a dick. So we're going to make strides over mental illness and suicide when we come together, when we accept people for who they are and where they are at on their journey. When we embrace other people's happiness like we embrace our own, things are going to get so much better, and mental health will increase. We have to get to that place where everybody's important, everybody's happiness. If they're not doing anything illegal or immoral under the law, not under your perception, you don't have the authority to do that. Just like you would not accept anyone's authority to tell you what to do. So stop telling people what to do. Stop shitting on their buffet table just because you weren't. I mean, the thing that, like with Pride, everyone's invited. You don't have to be a member of that to celebrate it. And so celebrate it. Celebrate everything. Celebrate other people's happiness. Celebrate other people's wins. Because a rising tide shifts. It don't. I mean, I guess it's shifting it to a degree, but I meant to say lift. It lifts. Rising tide lifts all boats. So let's raise the tide. We're gonna stick with it. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching. Fight hard. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.